Fellow Kenyans, in part one, I argued that public participation without information is theater. In this second part, I want to look more directly at the role of executive, the parliament, the judiciary, and the citizens. So let us begin with Haiti police deployment. Kenyan police officers were to be sent thousands of kilometers away into a very difficult and unstable situation. Citizens had a right to ask, who approved this? What law allows it? Was Parliament properly involved? What risks would our police officers face? Who would command them? Who would pay? What would happen if Kenyan officers were injured or killed? What reciprocal arrangements existed between Kenya and Haiti? What benefits would Kenyans receive? Were Kenyans fully informed? These questions were not anti-Haiti, they were not anti-security, they were constitutional questions. They were, because then we come to the Ebola facility issue. Here again, what's happening? Citizens have a right to ask what agreement was made, who signed it, who approved it, was Parliament involved, were Kenyans informed, what health safeguards exist, who controls the facility, who pays, who carries liability if something goes wrong, what data will be collected, where will the data go, who supervises the process, why should Americans exposed to Ebola be quarantined in Kenya rather than immediately returned to the United States? These are not anti-American questions, they are not anti-health questions, they are not anti-cooperation questions. They are constitutional questions. A sovereign country can cooperate with other countries. Kenya can cooperate with Haiti, and it can cooperate with the United States or any other country for that matter. It can cooperate with the world. But international cooperation must not become a shortcut around the Constitution. Agency does not cancel constitutionalism. Humanitarian language does not cancel accountability. Public health does not cancel public participation. Security cooperation does not cancel sovereignty. Foreign partnership does not cancel the citizens' right to know. Now, let us consider Parliament. Parliament is supposed to represent the people, but representation does not erase the people. When major decisions involve public money, foreign agreements, national security, public health, the police service, public data, or sovereignty, Parliament must not simply watch from a distance. Parliament must ask questions, demand documents, must hold public hearings. Parliament must facilitate public participation, in other words. Parliament must remember that it is not a decoration in the constitutional order. It is a representative institution entrusted with oversight. If Parliament is silent, if it is weak or bypassed, then citizens must ask, is Parliament representing the people or merely watching the executive act? Now let's consider the executive. The executive has power to govern, but that power is not personal power. It is entrusted power. It is delegated power. The president and cabinet do not govern as owners of Kenya. They govern as trustees of public authority. So when executive makes major decisions secretly or without enough public information, it creates suspicion. If the executive does not want citizens to demonstrate, it must ask whether its own conduct is creating the conditions that make demonstrations necessary. Citizens have a constitutional right to assemble, to demonstrate, to picket, to petition. So peaceful demonstration is not rebellion, it is constitutional feedback. A responsible executive should not fear peaceful demonstrations. It should listen to them. It should ask, what are the people telling us? And now let's consider the judiciary. The judiciary is supposed to protect the Constitution. Judicial authority is derived from the people. That means courts do not exercise power above the people. They exercise authority on behalf of the people under the Constitution. So when courts issue decisions in major public interest matters, citizens have a right to expect reasons. If a court issues an order that takes immediate effect but delays the reason for that order for several months, what happens to the citizen's right to understand the decision? And if the same court does not explain why the reasons are being delayed, does that not create a second constitutional concern? You delay and then you don't give the reasons for delaying. The citizen is left with two unanswered questions. First, why was the order made? Second, why are the reasons for the order being withheld? How can a citizen meaningfully appeal a decision whose reasons are not available? How can the public have confidence in judicial process where an order takes effect immediately, but the explanation is postponed without explanation? This is not an attack on judicial independence. Judicial independence is essential. Judges must be free to decide cases without intimidation or political pressure or threats. But judicial independence does not mean judicial silence when the reasons are needed. It does not mean immunity from accountability. It does not mean the public has no right to understand decisions made in the same name of justice. A judiciary that gives reasons, it strengthens the confidence of the public. A judiciary that withholds reasons is in major public matters, it risks that confidence. So when we place Haiti, Ebola, the executive, the parliament, the judiciary, and the citizens together, we see the larger constitutional issue. The Constitution was designed to create balance. The executive acts, parliament oversees, the judiciary interprets and protects the law. The citizens supervises all delegated power that I've mentioned above. But what happens if the executive acts secretly? What happens if parliament fails to demand full information? What happens if the judiciary gives immediate effective orders without timely reason? What happens if citizens remain silent? Then the Constitution begins to weaken in practice, even if it remains strong on paper. That is the real issue. The Constitution is not only defended in courtrooms, it is defended in public questions, in community conversations, it is defended in access to information requests, it is defended in parliament petitions, it is defended in peaceful demonstrations, it is defended when citizens refuse to surrender their sovereignty after elections. So let us ask the uncomfortable question. If sovereign power belongs to the people, can major decisions be made without informing the people? If the people have a right to information, can public participation be meaningful when documents are withheld? If Parliament represents the people, can it remain silent when international agreements affect public money, public safety, and public health? If the judiciary derives its authority from the people, should it not provide reasons when its decisions affect the public interest? If the executive dislikes demonstrations, should it not govern in a way that reduces the need for citizens to demonstrate? If citizens remain silent, do they not make it easy for misuse of power to continue? These questions are not partisan. They are not partisan. They are not anti-government. They are not anti-foreign cooperation. They are constitutional questions. The citizen is not a beggar. The citizen is a spectator, is not a spectator, and is not a child waiting for government to explain only what the government chooses. The citizen is the source of sovereign power. Elections delegate power. They do not surrender sovereignty. Public participation is not a favor. Access to information is not a favor. Reasoned judicial decisions are not a favor. Peaceful demonstration is not a favor. These are constitutional tools through which the people supervise delegated power. So when we are speaking about Haiti, Ebola, public health, security, foreign cooperation, or judicial accountability, the principle remains the same. Nothing about us, our police, our health, our data, our money, our land, or our future should be decided without us. The people do not disappear after voting. They remain the supervisors of power. Thank you. If you liked this video, please share with your friends and make a comment.